The forest was alive, but not in the way one might expect. Not with the friendly chirps of birds or the rustling of squirrels, but with an unsettling, almost palpable silence. This was a living darkness, ancient and hungry, a presence that seemed to watch and wait. The pines stood like gnarled claws against the sky, their needles forming a thick carpet that muffled all sound, creating an eerie stillness. Mist, thick as cotton, clung to the earth, its tendrils snaking through the trees like ghostly fingers reaching out. Deep within this suffocating embrace, hidden from prying eyes, sat a cabin, shrouded in mystery and fear. It wasn't a welcoming sight, but rather one that sent shivers down the spine. The wood, once proud and sturdy, was now rotting, eaten away by damp and neglect, a testament to the passage of time. Windows, like vacant eyes, stared out blindly, boarded shut with planks that were warped and cracked, as if trying to keep something in or out. A single chimney, crooked and crumbling, spewed a plume of oily smoke, a stench of something foul clinging to the air, hinting at the malevolence within. This was no place for man or beast, a realm where even the bravest dared not tread. This was a place where darkness festered, where shadows seemed to have a life of their own. Locals told tales of the cabin, hushed whispers passed down through generations, each story more chilling than the last. They spoke of a darkness that resided there, a malevolence that seeped into the very soil, corrupting everything it touched. Children were warned away, their innocent eyes too pure to gaze upon such evil, their laughter too precious to be silenced by fear. But some stories, no matter how tightly guarded, have a way of wriggling free, spreading like wildfire through the community. And the story of the cabin in the dark forest was one that would soon stain the earth crimson, a tale of horror that would not be easily forgotten. Adam Holy hadn't always been a creature of the shadows. He was once a man, flesh and blood, with a wife he adored and a life filled with simple pleasures. They lived on the edge of the forest, a testament to their love in a clearing hewn from the trees. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. His wife Sarah was taken by a sickness that swept through the village like a vengeful spirit. She withered away, her laughter fading to pained gasps. Adam, helpless and heartbroken, watched the light leave her eyes. He buried her in the clearing, a single wooden cross marking her grave. From that day forward, a piece of Adam died with her. Grief can be a powerful thing. It can heal, but it can also corrupt. For Adam, it was a descent into madness. He withdrew from the world, seeking solace in the depths of the forest that had claimed his love. He became a recluse, his only companions the shadows and the whispering trees. The cabin, once a symbol of his love for Sarah, became his prison, a place where his humanity slowly eroded, replaced by something cold and monstrous. The first disappearance was met with confusion, then concern. A young boy, out playing too near the edge of the forest, vanished without a trace. Searches were organized, prayers were whispered, but the forest offered no answers. It kept its secrets buried beneath a shroud of mist and silence. Then another child went missing. A girl this time, her laughter silenced forever. Fear, a cold hand, gripped the hearts of the villagers. Parents kept their children close, their eyes darting nervously towards the tree line. The forest, once a source of sustenance and wonder, became a place of dread, its darkness a constant reminder of the unseen threat. Whispers began, hushed conversations in the dead of night. Old tales of the cabin and its malevolent inhabitant resurfaced. Could it be true? Could something wicked truly reside within the forest's embrace? The villagers desperately clung to hope, but as the disappearances continued, a horrifying truth began to dawn. They were not dealing with a simple man, they were dealing with a monster. Section 4, Unmasking Horror, the Cabin's Secrets. The stench hit them first, a wave of putrid air, thick with the metallic tang of blood and the sickly sweet odour of decay. The group of men, their faces grim, had finally yielded to the mounting terror and ventured into the forest. They were armed with pitchforks and courage born of desperation, their resolve fuelled by the need to find their missing children. The cabin, when they finally stumbled upon it, seemed to materialize from the mist, a nightmare given form. The door, hanging precariously from its hinges, creaked open with a groan that sent shivers down their spines. Inside, lit by a flickering fire, was a scene straight from hell. Bones, picked clean and scattered, littered the floor. A single blood-stained table stood in the centre of the room. Upon it a collection of crude instruments, knives, saws, hooks, and in the fireplace, bubbling over a roaring fire, a pot simmered, its contents unmentionable. The men, hardened by years of toil and hardship, were forced to turn away, their stomachs churning. This was beyond comprehension. This was the work of a madman. Section 5. The Devil's Due Capture and Confession. Adam Holy didn't resist. He stood in the flickering light of the cabin, his eyes vacant, his clothes stained with the evidence of his crimes. The air was thick with the scent of fear and blood, a silent witness to the horrors that had unfolded within those walls. He watched with an almost detached curiosity as the men, their faces pale with shock and revulsion, swarmed the cabin. Their eyes darted around, taking in the gruesome scene, their breath shallow and quick. It was as if he welcomed their arrival, a final act in a play only he understood. The chaos around him seemed to fade into the background, leaving him in a bubble of eerie calm. He spoke little during his capture, his silence more terrifying than any scream. The men, unnerved by his calm demeanour, exchanged uneasy glances, unsure of what to make of him. He was taken back to the village, bound and guarded, his eyes never leaving the ground. The path was lined with villagers, their faces twisted with a mix of fear and anger. The villagers, their fear giving way to anger, hurled insults and curses, their words bouncing off him like stones. Objects were thrown, but he remained untouched, both physically and emotionally. But Adam remained impassive, a broken shell of a man harbouring a darkness no one could comprehend. His face, devoid of emotion, was a mask hiding the turmoil within. It was during his confession, whispered in the depths of the night to the village priest, that the true horror of his crimes became clear. The priest, his hands trembling, listened in horror as Adam recounted his deeds. He spoke of voices, of hunger, of a darkness that had consumed him from within. Each word was a dagger, piercing the priest's soul, leaving him shaken to his core. He spoke of his victims, their innocent faces burned into his memory, their screams echoing in his nightmares. The weight of their lost lives hung heavy in the air, a testament to his monstrous acts. And he spoke of the forest, of its seductive whispers and its insatiable appetite. The trees, he claimed, had called to him, their voices promising power and release. His words, chilling and devoid of remorse, painted a picture of a mind shattered, twisted into something monstrous by grief and madness. The priest, now understanding the depth of Adam's torment, could only pray for his soul, knowing that redemption was a distant hope. Section 6. Justice served, the trial and sentence. The trial was swift, almost too swift for some. The evidence, overwhelming and gruesome, left no room for doubt. Blood-stained photographs and chilling testimonies painted a grim picture. The villagers, their faces etched with a mixture of grief and rage, packed the small courtroom, their eyes burning into Adam. Their collective anger was palpable, a force unto itself. He sat in the stand, his head bowed, his body racked with silent sobs. Each tear seemed to carry the weight of his sins. Gone was the vacant stare, the chilling indifference that had once defined him. In its place was a flicker of something resembling remorse, a spark of humanity in the abyss of his crimes. It was as if he had finally come to terms with the horror of his actions. His lawyer, a young man from a neighbouring town, argued for insanity. He was earnest, almost desperate in his defence. He spoke of Adam's grief, of the darkness that had taken root in his soul. He painted a picture of a man lost to his own demons. He pleaded for mercy, for understanding, for a chance at redemption. But his words fell on deaf ears. The jury, unmoved, remained stoic and unyielding. The villagers, their hearts hardened by loss and fear, demanded justice. Their cries for retribution echoed through the courtroom. They wanted retribution, a life for the lives that had been stolen. Their thirst for vengeance was insatiable. The verdict, when it came, was no surprise. Guilty on all counts. The room seemed to hold its breath. The sentence, handed down with a heavy heart by the aging judge, was death by hanging. His voice wavered, betraying his own inner turmoil. A collective gasp filled the courtroom, followed by an eerie silence. The weight of the sentence settled over everyone. Adam, his head still bowed,